Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, my name is Mike Piwowarski. I am your co-host. I would normally be coming to you from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, as I am the co-host with the most. But today I'm in the Republic of Texas again. And Craig, it's a pleasure to be with you here on The Rundown as we bring everybody 2A views and conservative news.
Excellent, excellent, sir. So how was the helicopter convention there in Texas going?
Oh, it's very uplifting, Craig. Very uplifting. It's really good. Listen, 3 days of finding a lot of people in the same industry as I am. There's a lot of crossover I found also, especially in the manufacturing, precision manufacturing for parts for helicopters, parts for firearms, and then there's a number of helicopter organizations here that like to hunt from the aircraft as well. So that's kind of
really
nice.
That must be interesting.
Yeah. It's I'm not sure if they're hunting hogs or going to the Ukraine, but they definitely have the equipment for it. So.
Okay. we'll just leave that one right there for a moment.
Build back better. Yeah.
Build back better. All right, hey folks, if you're watching, wherever you're watching us, do us a favor. Make sure to like, share it. Make sure share it on your feed so that folks can join in the conversation and enjoy the program. So please do us a favor, like, share, subscribe, encourage your friends to do the same. Go ahead and do it like right now. However you're watching us, make sure you share it and let folks know. Also, take a moment and visit our sponsors. Why don't we go ahead and do this at the beginning of the program this time, Mike? Why don't you go ahead and give a shout out to all of our sponsors?
I shall. Let's say hello to our good friends at Gorilla Machining, almost bit my tongue, Grid Defense, and of course, our good friends at the California Republican Assembly. I did talk to Grid Defense and Gorilla Machining here yesterday, Craig, because I'm sorry, it was earlier today because I ran into a couple of manufacturers here, and I guess they all know each other. So we called to play the, hey, I guess who I meant game. So check out Gorilla Machining, Grid Defense, and of course, our good friends at the California Republican Assembly.
Exactly, folks. These are the folks who help us to bring this show to you. So do us a favor, show them some love. They will show us some love, and hey, we'll still be on the air. So make sure to take care. Make sure to do that. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's news, and we'll start from the top here. There's a lot of talk about gas prices. I don't care where you are. Gas is high. It's higher in some places than in others. Being in the state of California, I can tell you that it's probably higher here than anywhere. Not probably. It is definitely higher here in California than any place else in the country. Now, the interesting thing about it is that there are a number of reasons why, but one reason that we've seen an immediate jump in the cost of fuel and gas has to do with what's going on in the Ukraine. And interestingly, now the mainstream media, and we'll point to probably the lead culprits, the New York Times, is, they're saying that Republicans are wrongly blaming Biden for rising gas prices. Well, okay, so here's the deal. This is where they are completely and utterly 100% wrong. I don't think that Republicans are blaming him for rising prices. I think that they are blaming Biden for high prices altogether, and policies that, quite frankly, had absolutely nothing to do with and were far before we were dealing with the Ukraine. Am I correct or am I incorrect, Mike?
Well, I think in general, in a whole, that the Republicans are blaming President Biden for the rise of gas prices, and it's true, Craig. No matter how many times the liberal media wants to say it's not connected, no matter how many times the White House wants to say it's not connected, we can look at every one of this guy's policies since he took office that has driven the price of gasoline up. We could show that direct line, but their defense is, well, it's a private industry, and he has nothing to do with how that's being said. Whereas I know the OPEC is an international organization that the president has no say in. But crap! Listen, hey Craig, I got a good idea. I'm going to shut off half the water to your house. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to shut off. I'm going to come out and I'm going to shut off one of the pipes coming into your house and shut off half the water of your house. Now, if the price of your water goes up, It's not my fault. All I did was shut off half of the water coming in. The price of the water you're paying to come in now, that's not my fault.
Well, what they
That's what
seem
they're
to be
doing
ignoring.
with this oil price, you know?
Well, but what they keep saying is, well, there's 9,000 leases out there that are being unused. Well, part of the thing is, number one, a lot of those leases don't have any oil. There's literally no oil there. They've
Yeah.
either dried up already, meaning they've already gotten the oil from them, or they've explored them and there is no oil. So just because you have a lease doesn't necessarily mean that you have oil. The other thing is that the president basically, when he first got into office, the first thing he did, one of the first things that he did was cut off any new leases. In other words, places that we know have not been explored yet for oil, he cut them off and then decided he was going to set aside and reserve about 30% of all federal lands. He was going to reduce the amount of land available for oil exploration. Now, their other argument is that, well, the Keystone Pipeline wasn't even on tap. It wasn't even up and running. So that wouldn't have changed the present price of oil. And that is also completely wrong. One, yet they were correct. They are correct in that it wasn't up and running. But if he hadn't suspended it, we would be that much closer. We would be over a year closer to actually having that pipeline up and running. And as that pipeline starts to get closer to come up and running, that affects, and the knowing that we have access to that oil affects the decisions of other oil producers, because they're going to be like,
Right.
well, eventually they're going to have access to that oil. We need to make sure that we increase our supplies in order to make sure that we get our money now, because once they have their own, the prices are going to go down. So that pipeline does affect the current price of oil, because once again, they figure they better get that money. They better get that money now, because they're not going to be able to get it later. I just think that once again, these are people, and the left is looking for. They're looking at logic, and they're thinking about things only in which a way that they're thinking, okay, we're not wrong, so let's try and make arguments that show we're not wrong, and they're not looking at all the facts.
Yeah, and then of course there's the fact that they are wrong. You know, that's just
Right.
let's not forget that. Let's not forget that. You know, this is not like the well, similar, but not exactly the defund the police issue. You know, that was their policy. Defund the police was their policy. They realized they were losing on that one, so they changed it and lied about changing their policy. This has been their policy the whole time, to restrict the flow of oil, but take no blame for the rising prices. That's what they're doing right now. Oh, it's not our fault. The president doesn't. President's not on OPEC. He can't set the price of a barrel.
Well, and
yeah,
by
but
the way,
he can set the demand
Mike,
for it. You know?
And by the way, Mike, this was exactly in line with what he campaigned on doing. He said he was going to restrict fossil fuel. He said he was going to work to eliminate it. He said he was going to push up gas prices. This is all stuff he campaigned on. You can go back to look at his speeches. I was really trying to find, because someone was playing a montage of him talking about those things. I was really trying to find that video so that I could play that. But there's a montage of him basically just saying over and over again how he was going to attack fossil fuels. And you know, now we're seeing the result of that policy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's driving the nail into the coffin right here is what he's doing.
Yes, exactly. So he's doing what he said he's going to do. America, those of you who voted for him, he's doing what he said he was going to do. These are his campaign promises fulfilled. How you like it? How you feeling? You feeling good about it now?
We got no mean tweets, Craig, so we got that going for us. Yeah.
Exactly. At least we got no mean tweets.
There you go.
Speaking of social media and censorship, Facebook is at it again. That's right. Facebook is creating a new tool for Facebook group administrators to help them to automatically block misinformation. So here's the way this new tool is going to work. You know that they have, Mike, they have objective third-party fact checkers, right? People who go and they check and they make sure that posts are not false news and false information. Well, this new tool they're going to give group administrators, if you turn it on, if a post has been deemed to include information that is misleading or is skeptical or doesn't contain all the facts, it will automatically be declined from being able to be posted in a group. Now, mind you, this is only if the Facebook fact checkers have deemed it to be false information. You know, those objective folks like Snopes and PolitiFact and USA Today, these liberal left wing, cat people.
Whoa! What if I got a tiger? Does that make me a cat person?
Okay, if you're
Greg?
well, it all depends. You know, if you're like Joe Exotic cat people, that's still weird.
It's like you're doing right now, right?
Right. or Carol Baskin type cat people.
I'm cleaning my bitch slapper right now, and I'm gonna hit you for it. we're calling cat people like that. It's crazy.
Well, why would you be offended at being called a cat person?
I'm just thinking you're just, it's like Michael Jordan there, right? Well, cat people wear shoes too. You know, why are you gonna go after half our audience? You know.
Right. Well, there's a difference between liking cats and having 16 of them.
Oh, no, listen. Okay, there's crazy cat ladies, and then there's cat people. Let's be clear on that. Okay.
Then I misspoke. I'm talking about crazy cat ladies.
Okay, there you go. That's
guys.
Yeah. Well, I don't know any crazy cat guys, but that's more of a cat lady thing. But
all right,
it's just
back to the news story. No thoughts? No thoughts on Facebook?
Wait, talk. Oh, I thought you were going to go back with some more. Sorry. Listen. This Zuckerberg. You know, I don't even know if he has any control over Facebook anymore. He just does what the robots tell him to do. But this is, it's no longer what it was. Is it safe? Sure, it is, Craig. But you know what? Facebook's now the kind of Facebook is the kid wearing the helmet and the elbow pads and the knee pads, and the road's been paved in bubble wrap, and the bicycle's made of plastic, and you can never get hurt. They're trying to make it that kind of place where it's this utopian, pink leprechauns and unicorns kind of place where no one could ever be injured or insulted or see anything that might ruin their virgin eyes. It's a horrible thing. You know, what they need to do, and I forget who it was. Was it Elon Musk who said he was going to buy it and shut it off? And I'll give that guy $20 right now if he doesn't.
Well, ultimately, the thing that is frustrating about this is that they're not. Now that this technology exists, they're not the only ones who are doing this. And the frustrating thing is when you start stifling free speech, and that's really what this is, because a lot of the things that they have deemed to be quote unquote fake news or misleading information, a lot of it now we know to be true. We now know it is true. We now know it is real. And it's funny because in some cases, these folks have not even changed their policies. So what is frustrating about that is they are literally suppressing real information. And they don't care.
No, they don't care at all. And we know how erroneous the last set of checking was, and now all of a sudden you've got this is going to be better. This without human oversight is going to be better. The AI robots there are going to be better. Yeah, we're done. We're done. We all thought it was going to be Skynet. It's going to to be
Facebook. It's not going to be Skynet. It's going to be Facebook.
It's going to be Facebook.
Oy. Okay.
Yep. The Zuckerbots are going to get us. Yeah.
All right. Moving right along. There was an incident that took place, a situation that took place in Philadelphia. It was an instance where law enforcement officers were surveilling a couple of youths, a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old. One of the two they suspected, or at least seemed familiar, they was wanted for. I don't remember if it was questioning, but they were wanted for questioning regarding a firearms issue or potential firearms violation. These officers went to talk to the individuals, went to drive over. They turned on the lights on their vehicle. They were plainclothes, but did have on vests and badges, but they turned on the lights, went to go talk to those individuals, and one of them, a 12-year-old, basically shot at the cops. It went through the back window, went through one of the I don't know if you remember if it was the passenger side or the driver's side rear windows. Actually went into the seat. One of the officers that was in the car actually got, hit with glass, injured from glass. But anyway, the officers get out of the car. They return fire. One of the officers is pursuing one. Another officer is pursuing the other. The 12-year-old fires 2 more rounds, hitting the 12-year-old. 12-year-old drops the gun and goes down. Well, now, so let's be clear. These police officers were shooting at someone who shot at them, who was fleeing but was still in the possession of a loaded firearm, a loaded 9mm firearm. Well, guess what? That police officer, was fired, is going to be fired. Going to be fired for returning fire. They're saying that this officer violated department policy in the shooting of this 12-year-old. Now, Mike, I will be the first to say that the death of a 12-year-old is a tragedy. It is. Now, in this particular case, though, I gotta wonder what potential department policy could this individual have violated that would cause them to lose their job when they were shooting back at someone who shot at them?
Well, listen, to answer that question, anybody that shoots at the police, is going to face the possibility of not going home that day. So I have no issue with that whatsoever. Craig, looking through the story here, what I've seen is, first off, this police chief, she needs to go. She's this is another, we've seen this in the Northeast. They're under the habit now that they have to hire the most minority person they can with the least experience that they can and put them in charge. We just saw that with NYPD. We now see that here in Philadelphia as well, and as well as many other major metropolitan cities.
If I can just interject real quick in there, and it's not enough to look minority. You have to be anti-cop as well.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's be clear. You have being anti-cop is a requirement to run a department in many of these cities.
Yeah, like you said, Craig, this started out with the 2 Utes. These 2 Utes were riding their bicycles. The cops had already identified one of them as being wanted for questioning involving some firearms crimes. And guess what? Lo and behold, he's got a 9mm on him. He's got a firearm on him, and they go to stop him. The bullet comes into the rear window of the car, into the driver's headrest, right behind the driver's head, right? The other guy gets glass and stuff in his eyes. Bullets are already flying. They return fire. They immediately get out of the car, start pursuit, and return fire. Well, Craig, this Ute was hit in the upper back right shoulder. So, Craig, if you would, this area here, right? You can see this area here, Craig?
Yes.
Right? Okay. He was also running from the police doing this while he was doing that, Craig. Guess what happens when you run from the police like this and shoot behind you? You get shot here, okay? Well, they can't fathom any way whatsoever, how they could have shot him in the back. Well, guess what? Because he was still half turned around shooting at them. That's why. But that's not enough, because the policy says we don't shoot people in the back. Let me tell you something what the law says. The law says fleeing felons. You can use deadly force on fleeing felons. All right? That's fleeing felons. That says nothing about being armed. Now let's arm that fleeing felon, Craig. An armed fleeing felon is presumed to be a danger to the community and must be stopped. So if the bad guy robs the liquor store, right, Craig, and points the gun at the clerk's head, and then he turns around and runs outside into the community with the gun in his hand, guess what? He's a presumed threat to the community. He's a fleeing felon with the gun, and deadly force is authorized. 100% authorized under the law in the state of Philadelphia. In the city of Philadelphia and the state of Pennsylvania. Yet, this police chief can't see a way that this happened possibly illegally, so this officer is going to be fired and possibly face charges from a very, very anti-police district attorney up there.
Well, I'm just, once again, though, so the policy then would be not shooting someone in the back. But as you just pointed out, It's very possible that he pointed the gun at the officer while he was shooting. But here's the thing, dude, he had a gun. He had already shot at police.
Yeah.
I, and he
Yeah.
was
And
fleeing.
if it had not been for Ford's extra piece of plastic or metal inside a headrest, a cop would have been shot in the head and killed. Okay.
Right.
Just by fluke that the officer wasn't killed. By pure fluke. Listen, some guy making headrests up in Detroit right now is going to get tracked down and given a special reward by the Philadelphia Police Department. I'll tell you that. Because just for some reason, they're putting that extra component in there. It saved a life.
Well, Mike, I have a feeling that
this
once
is an
again
anti.
we're going to see a lawsuit, and this officer is going to this officer is going to win his lawsuit. I have a feeling I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a criminal trial and the officer will win the criminal trial. And quite frankly, I think that all of these people, I think this police chief needs to be fired. If the district attorney decides to prosecute, the district attorney needs to be fired. Because once again, this is not an innocent young kid. This is a kid who decided to take a shot at cops. And I can't say that it wasn't unfortunate, the circumstances of how the kid got there. I wish those circumstances hadn't happened, but in the end, this is an individual who shot at police. You shoot at somebody, do not be surprised when they shoot back.
Yeah, listen, I'll go a step further, Craig. I believe the police chief, the district attorney, everybody else involved, once this officer is cleared, they should be charged. Yeah. They should be charged for what they're doing, for bringing this malicious prosecution, for, bringing this hate and discontent to the police department and everything there. By the way, the family, Craig, of this Ute, they have said that the police must have planted the gun and murdered him because their son would never be doing anything wrong like that. Meanwhile, criminal record involving firearms already exists on this youth.
Well, and also let's be clear, this is not a black youth. So for those of you who say the cops are racist, well, this isn't a race issue. I don't know what ethnicity the kid is, but he does not appear to be an African American youth. So racist can't call racism on this one, as far as I know. I could be wrong. Obviously, if I am, I know you folks. You will correct me. You will correct me in the comments. By the way, I don't mind you correcting me. I would rather be right. I would rather know that I've got the right information than to walk around being wrong and have you be polite to me. So that's why Mike has no problem correcting me. All right, this next one, once again, as do many things that happen in California, really bothers me. So in San Diego, a group of officials decided that they were going to raid a preschool. That's right. They raided a preschool. Now, Mike, let me tell you why they raided this preschool. Because they wanted to find out if they were using masks. They wanted to find out about the mask policy at this preschool. They interviewed 2-year-olds over mask policies. And by the way, their parents were not present. So these were state regulators. This was in San Diego. It was at a preschool. They privately interviewed children as young as 2 without their parents' consent about their masking practices. Now, Mike, maybe it's just me, but are they really legally allowed to question minors without their parents' either consent, knowledge, or presence?
Listen, of course not, and they should be in jail for it. But Craig, here's what they're going to argue. They're going to argue, well, wearing a mask is not the law, and we weren't questioning them about a legal violation. We were questioning them about a policy. So since it's a policy and there's no criminal or confinement threatened to them, that they cannot deny the questioning to the child, even though the parents are not present. They'll come with something like that, is what they'll say. Well, we weren't talking about a crime. So
I also want to go to the people who are running this preschool. I want to say, why were you letting these people talk to my children? Why were these strangers? We don't know them. For all we know, they're pedophiles.
Listen, I'm sure these guys came to the door with badges and raid jackets on and did all of that. They might have even had a little battering ram, for knocking down the little door on the 2-year-old house that they have there, because I'm sure like any daycare, Craig, they have like the little tiny house in there and a little tiny kitchen and a little tiny workshop. and they probably went in there and they knocked down the 2-year-old's house door.
Right. Rule number one: do you have a warrant? Because if you don't have a warrant, kick rocks.
Sure, yeah, and Craig, and then you know what? And listen, I agree with you. And here's the next statement, ma'am. We're from the Division of Licensing. We don't need a warrant. You're a healthcare. You're a child care provider. Failure to let us in, and we revoke your license now.
Yeah, that is a valid point. But they still, to have them then interview the children is I think is far beyond the pale. I think they have a right to then.
It's horrible. Yeah, listen. Yeah. I mean, they should put these people into custody. They should. You did what? You're stripped of all authority. You're fired. These are the ones we should be suspending for 30 days and firing, not cops that got shot at. We went and interrogated 2-year-olds. All right, come on. Right. Let's knock some. And listen, I don't care who the agency is. The chief of this agency right now, today, needs to resign before being arrested. This is ridiculous.
Nope, 100% correct. 100% correct. And yeah, dude, I once again, I just folks, if you want to know what the world is going to be like for the rest of the nation, just when the apocalypse comes, just look at California. Just look at what is going on in California, and I'm telling you, it is beyond. It is California is becoming unrecognizable from what it was even 5 years ago. It has come to the point where authoritarianism, and that's really what it is, has taken over. And this is left-wing authoritarianism. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as right-wing authoritarianism. I just haven't seen it to the degree that we see it happening, the way the left is doing it nationwide, but particularly here in California. And even the stuff that's taking place nationwide can be tracked back to Californians. Think about it. Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff. All right, these are all Californians. Facebook is based where? California. Google is based where? California. I mean, all of this is it is California spilling off and affecting the rest of the country and the rest of the nation. Mike, I'm sorry. All I can do is apologize to the rest of the nation for what my fellow Californians are doing.
Listen, you talked about right-wing extremists and left-wing extremists here. And the difference being, Greg, is that left-wing extremists, these type of people that have no problem knocking down the door or threatening to take the door down and then interviewing 2-year-old people over a mask policy. The problem is when they grew up, none of them ever got punched in the face. None of them ever played baseball or football and felt what it was like to take a hit. Okay. And now they're going out doing these things saying, well, this sounds good. And my boss told me to do it, so it must be legal. All right. You get one of these guys out there interviewing a 2-year-old or gals, I don't know who it is, out there interviewing a 2-year-old and putting a 2-year-old under the thumb screws under the spotlight. Mm-hmm. All right. This is how people get punched in the face. And the first time it happens to them, do you know what they're going to do? What am I doing? Why am I interviewing a 2-year-old? Oh, I get it now. I get it now. There's consequences. I get it. Every action has a consequence.
Well, and Mike, in leading us to our parting shots, it just goes to remind me, as we approach the as things get worse and worse, it is important to make sure that we live our lives appropriately. Starting off, make sure that we dance like no one's watching, love like you've never been hurt, and make friends like there will be supply chain or social infrastructure collapse, and you will have to rely on each other for basic survival. Ain't this the truth? And I don't know many people on the left who are prepared for this.
It's true. Now, Craig, before you get to the next one, I sent you a couple more during the show. I don't know how quick you can make them.
Let me see if I can get them up. I'll do it this way. Hold on.
We do have one more that we already planned. Yeah.
Okay.
They're all the same theme. It's good stuff.
They're all the same.
I'm not trying to trick you. It's nothing that's going to get us kicked off the air. It's like I know. Because sometimes, folks, I'll send Craig some stuff on air, and he'll start to respond and be like, "No, we can't do that.
No, we are not going to use that one. We will use this one though." Wow. So this is the other one that you originally sent me. When I can't even fill up my truck completely for $125 and World War III is looming, I find comfort in knowing that nobody got their feelings hurt on Twitter today. Yet and still they did, Mike. We know that they did.
Right.
They did get their feelings hurt on Twitter because that stuff, sort of stuff still happens. Okay, here we go. And I'll share it with you this way. Here's the other one. Here's another one. After three more years of this administration's policies, Biden voters are going to owe Trump voters reparations. Ooh, snap. Ain't that the truth? Yes, in fact, they are.
Oh my gosh.
And then congrats, Joe Biden. It took a year for you to do what it took Jimmy Carter 3 years.
Way to overachieve, Joe. Way to overachieve.
I am serious, and I will continue to believe that the fact that Jimmy Carter is still alive is God's way of just recognizing Jimmy Carter and the stuff that he has done, the homes that he's built for people in need. It's his way of thanking Jimmy Carter for him getting to live to see a president worse than him.
He did. Listen, he's done some great humanitarian missions, some ambassador missions to tough areas around the world, building homeless, people houses. Yes, you're exactly right. They let him live this long so he could live to see a president worse than him.
He will die. He will now die knowing that he is not the worst president of modern times.
Exactly right.
Yeah, other than I think James Buchanan was probably the only worse president than Jimmy Carter.
Oh, and we could have a runoff for that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Joe Biden is. I think he's giving Buchanan a run for his money, and he's only a year in.
Biden is first. We got that. Now we got the whole tie at second place for Buchanan, Carter, and Obama.
Well, the only reason why I don't say yet is because he's got 3 more years, or at least 2.5 to 3 more years.
And you think all of a sudden?
I don't know if I have no faith that he's going to turn around.
It's going to trend up from here.
Yeah. You would think. Here's the thing. I've learned something. I've learned that never say it can't get any worse. I remember there was a time in our life, and my wife and I were dealing with one thing after another, and every time we said something couldn't happen, it would happen. We said it can't get any worse. It got worse. It was so bad. I remember we went to see the movie Mission to Mars, right? And I remember my wife and I. That was the one with Gary Sinise. And I remember my wife and I got in the car and we looked at each other and said, "Well, at least we're not stuck on Mars." That was the one thing we knew. We couldn't speak that into existence. That's the way I kind of feel about this presidency. It's like I'm not going to jinx it by saying it can't get worse, because it can. And it is right now. It's trending downward.
Yeah.
And it's amazing though to watch Democrats actually defend him. It's like, really? I mean, half your party is already saying, "Yeah, no, this is a complete and utter dumpster fire," and the other half is still holding on.
And they're using their last breath to do it too. They're like, "No, everything's okay."
Oh man! All right. Well, hey, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Now, Mike, are you still going to be there in Texas tomorrow, or are you going to be back home?
I will be back home tomorrow in sunny Florida, where it's 80 degrees and not this 40-degree crap like they got going on here right now.
Oh, that is hilarious. Okay. All right, Mikey. Mikey, we will see you tomorrow. You will be back in Florida. I will still be here in the state of California. So, pray for me. Pray for me. I need your prayers. Anyway, folks.
Yeah, with your luck, you might end up on Mars. You never know.
With my luck, I might end up on Mars. With that, folks, we're going to call it a day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same. See you tomorrow.
Pass this around.